Welcome to the Dean Smith Center, where number 1 resides. The Tar Heels are back on top, and they're hoping to hang another banner here at the Dean Dome, as tonight, Raycom and Lincoln Financial Sports showcase the Tar Heels and the Virginia Cavaliers. Psycho T, Tyler Hansbrough mans the middle for number 1 against Sean Singletary, one of the top guards in the nation. It's the Heels against the Cavaliers, and the opening tip is coming up next.
ACC basketball is being brought to you by Chick-fil-A, by Ford, by Food Lion, by Alltel, by Advance Auto Parts, by Pepsi, by Geico, and by Budweiser.
Cold night in the Carolinas, but warm in here. Let's take a look at our Food Lion starting lineups for Virginia. Kane, Diani, along with Mikalauskas, Reynolds, and Singletary. It'll be Rayshon Terry, Wright, Hansbrough, Ellington, and Lawson for the number 1 Tar Heels. Your Food Lion starting lineup. Our officials for tonight's game, the veteran Mike Kitts, along with Curtis Shaw and Earl Walden, and the opening tip is controlled to Virginia. Tim Brando, Billy Packer, happy to have you with us. Right away, Singletary dribbles through a double team and dishes to Jason Kane, who's been in and out of the starting lineup this year.
Sometimes a coach has a feeling that a man can replicate a performance of last year. Kane had 7 points, 5 rebounds, 5 blocks in the win against North Carolina. Time to bring him back into the lineup.
Doesn't fall for Wright. Out of bounds. Last touch by Reynolds. And it belongs to North Carolina underneath their own basket.
Virginia team kind of deep enough in that front line, maybe to go ahead with Kane in the starting lineup. Gives a lot of flexibility to Dave Ladoff. And some fouls, too.
Hansbrough, who, by the way, usually will get his number of fouls against an opposing front line, with the first bucket for Carolina. Singletary, a little off the mark.
Great rebound.
What a follow by Reynolds.
Bad block out by Ellington. We've got an experience. We've got, guys that have really played in big games before for Virginia in the backcourt. Young backcourt starting from North Carolina, as we're familiar with.
Billy, let's take a look at our 4 keys to the game.
Well, decisions. We talked about the backcourt, the experienced backcourt of Virginia. They have 113 assists, 73 turnovers to Reynolds and Singletary. But they have got to have a much better shooting percentage tonight. And feed the monster. We already saw that. Getting the ball into Hansbrough early is a key for North Carolina.
Something really that North Carolina did not do that well against Florida State on Sunday night. He had five of his first 25 points in the first half, and he was a monster in the second half. Terry unable to hit the perimeter jumper, but it's last touched by Virginia. North Carolina again will have a second chance.
Tim, we've seen on both ends of the floor so far no blocking out by either team, and so subsequently we're seeing some offensive rebounding opportunities. Needs to be much better blocking out by the guards as well as the frontline players.
Roy Williams got to 500 faster than anyone in college basketball coaching. Hit that mark earlier this year. Ellington off the back iron.
Another offensive rebound.
They absolutely dominated the boards against Florida State, did North Carolina. Ellington again.
Another offensive rebound. Just the lack of blocking out.
Reynolds, stutter step out to Mamadi Diani, and he drains the tray. Sophomore from Potomac, Maryland.
That's some huge games. Was the first ACC Player of the Week this year with that tremendous performance against Arizona.
Hansbrough, nice work defensively that time by Mikalauskas. He stood his ground that time underneath.
He's got a big enough body to do that.
That three was Reynolds wrapped. 10-4 Virginia. Coming off a disheartening loss non-conference to Stanford on Sunday, they've looked good enough to beat Gonzaga, the only team to have beaten North Carolina, and bad enough to lose to Stanford at home on Sunday night.
Of course, Stanford, a club that knocked it out of postseason play last year in the NIT first round.
Now they beat Arizona to open the brand new John Paul Jones Arena. Already some very RPI flavorful victories non-conference for this Virginia team. They come in 9-4, 1-0 in conference play. As you might recall, they played North Carolina State back in December.
That Arizona game was one of the most unusual games I've seen so far this year. Down 19 in the first half, going nowhere. Tremendous comeback against one of the nation's best teams to win that one.
I have to give Frank Littlepage a lot of credit for getting that game scheduled to open that brand new arena. No problem getting the fans up for that matchup to open a new building. Ellington not there. Rashawn Terry to follow.
And another offensive rebound. That's a nice decision on that penetration by Terry to kick out to Ellington, who's had his second wide open shot. I see Lawson holding his wrist. Remember when Raymond Felton had that wrist injury 2 years ago? It really set him back for a while. He played through it. But without question, we see Lawson right now favoring it on that jump shot, on the catch, and holding it the last time down the floor.
I think back to that period, and when Raymond Felton had it, it was the offhand as opposed to the shooting hand.
Yeah, and obviously quite a bit of difference. But with players that are so good with the crossover dribble, as both of them are, it really affects your game.
TJ Soroye got that foul just into the game for Virginia, number 21, in the blue and orange. And you see North Carolina dominant on the offensive glass.
Isn't it funny how an aspect of the game jumps out at you so quickly when you see guys not blocking out? And already 8 missed shots, but 6 offensive rebounds for North Carolina. Good step back dribble.
Kane in traffic. Deion Thompson knocks it away. Right away, Roy Williams, before the first automatic timeout, gets to his bench about 7 or 8 deep in a game.
It's a good idea by Kane. He probably made that shot a little bit too difficult. Rather than try to make the shot, probably should have tried to just draw the foul.
Gianni got his man airborne and made him pay. That was Rashawn Terry that he gave the ball fake to. 5 in the game for Mamadi. Virginia has doubled up on the Tar Heels, leaded by 6.
Nice balance, good-looking athletes coming off the bench for Virginia, matching up pretty well with North Carolina early on.
Thompson off the pick. Too strong. Kane collects the rebound and gets it into 44's hands. Singletary is magical with the basketball.
How about that decision to play Kane in this ball game? He's had a senior year not expected to be quite this inconsistent. Good steal.
Terry with the outlet into Ellington's hands. He's got that beautiful shot. Struggled with his shot against Florida State the other night. And the iron unkind early to the outstanding shooter here.
Had the good follow through, but his feet were not solid.
Singletary knew he was going to turn it over. Tried to get the ball up on the basket. To no avail. It's a turnover. This is our 25th year here on Raycom and Lincoln Financial, covering the Atlantic Coast Conference, the most tradition-rich league in Division I college basketball. We'll be back. 12-6, Virginia with the lead. North Carolina has had the edge in the offensive glass. In fact, when you miss a lot of shots, you will claim a lot of rebounds, and so far, that's been the story. And if you think about it, Billy, we have had Georgia Tech, by the way, has beaten Duke. That's a final just concluded at Alexander Memorial. Virginia Tech with a big lead over North Carolina. Greensboro late. But North Carolina has had their fair share of slow starts this season.
Well, you know, one of the things that I would credit that to, Tim, is a very young backcourt, which sometimes doesn't realize where to attack first in a ball game. And I think that North Carolina with Wright and Hansbrough is smart to attack inside first and then come out.
Adrian Joseph picked up that foul a moment ago, just into the game after the timeout. Thompson over King.
It makes so much sense to go inside out with this team as opposed to the other way around. You know, and everybody talks about Wright, but it's not that Thompson doesn't have some real ability in the low post as well.
That's a walk by Soroye. Third turnover for Dave Lato's club. Tutored for years under Jim Calhoun, the Hall of Famer. Played for him at Northeastern and went on to coach for a long period of time at UConn by way of DePaul as a head coach. He's now in Charlottesville.
You know, Tim, one of the things that really plagues this Virginia team, they're number 12 in the league in regard to turnovers.
Yeah.
And you just cannot afford that against a club like North Carolina, particularly when you turn it over and they start to turn it into some offense.
Marcus Ginyard is checked into the game, number 1. In the blue, heaven blue, and there's Hansbrough trying to work that quick drop step maneuver along the baseline, and he turned it over with an extra step.
To be quite honest with you, I think Lawson probably should have been prepared to take his jump shot there, but you can see that he really has lost some confidence in making the quick catch and the shot with that wrist problem.
Kane on the wing. Push too strong. The ball's knocked away, and it will belong to North Carolina. Curtis Shaw with the ball.
Ginyard into the ball game, a terrific defender. Terrific job so far in this ball game by Deon Thompson.
Yes.
Both ends of the floor really playing well.
Soroye has left the game. Amadou Young is back on the floor now for Virginia. And Singletary will get in on the next dead ball.
You see that Lawson's not looking for his shot.
Hansbrough, again, well defended by Mikalauskas. Tucker, Jameel Tucker just in, knocks down the tray, the freshman from Gary, Indiana.
Pretty smart play by Tucker, going out on the wing. Hansbrough normally runs straight down the floor and couldn't find his man.
Another ball fake, head fake turnover by the Tar Heels. So now they have 3. Virginia by 7, not quite 6 minutes gone. See the three-point shooting story, and the Tar Heels an offer at this stage.
Well, in regard to three-point shooting, Virginia, I talked about number 12 in turnovers. They are number 1 in threes made in the league.
We go back again to those keys of yours, Billy. Decisions. Already, we've seen Singletary and Reynolds make the right moves, usually when that pressure comes in the backcourt.
See that crossover dribble right there? Lawson couldn't control that ball with his right hand. Something he normally would just blister it right down the floor.
Wright got bumped by Tucker. First foul on Jameel Tucker.
And there's Wright, the wide play of Wright, and then a great drop steps. Plays so long, does this young man. He's always under control. Excellent footwork. Without question, one of the top freshmen in the country.
I thought it was interesting to hear Roy Williams when talking about Wright. He said, he reminds me of Hank Aaron. He used a baseball player for the analogy by saying he's long and smooth. He makes it appear effortless, as Hank Aaron did when he played the game of baseball.
Well, to get compared with Hank Aaron in any respect is pretty strong.
Absolutely.
He's already been ACC Rookie of the Week 4 times, so young man destined probably to be the Rookie of the Year in the league.
Bobby Frazier is coming to the game, number 4. Standing south from the Chicagoland area. Had some foot problems. Played well the other night against Florida State. Mikalauskas on another great decision by a guard. This one Reynolds with a nice dump down.
A terrific backdoor cut by Reynolds. A hard pass for Singletary to make. Really a nice play. We talked about this backcourt of Virginia. Really talented.
Hansbrough, count it, and a foul. Finally got the better of Mikalauskas along the baseline.
Look at that spread out and then that drop step. Mikalauskas even got him on the hand. You saw how strong Hansbrough is with his hands. Watch this. Look at that. He got clobbered right on the wrist and still made the shot.
Gets a little shooter touch at the free throw line for the old-fashioned three-point play. Now some pressure full court by North Carolina.
Pretty nice dribbling there.
And a pull-up by Singletary. Those guys, he and J.R. Reynolds, get it. To quote Dave Lato, who chatted today at the shoot-around, and he said, you know, some of my guys are in and out. but my guards are with me every step of the way. Right on the offensive glass.
He went up. It looked like he was coming down and then just stretched those arms out. Terrific job. How's it hard is it to believe that Singletary down at San Juan was 8 for 36 from the floor when you see this kind of release.
Halfway down the cylinder and out. Rebound cleared by Ginyard.
Nice pace now by North Carolina. Pushing the ball up the floor very well.
And finding either Hansbrough or Wright in the painted area. They're feeding those monsters. It just happens to be plural right now.
Well, you've got, in the case of Hansbrough and Wright, two guys that really can motor up and down the floor. They get an excellent position where they get down the court on the offensive transition, and they can catch the ball and finish. So a nice way, even on a delayed fast break, North Carolina is extremely effective.
When you think of power forwards that were able to run the floor as well as anyone, I think it all began with big game James Worthy here at North Carolina. On that 82 team, everyone remembers how fast he was. Well, these guys can get up and down the floor just as, if not more quickly.
Nice save.
Reynolds on a blow-by against Thompson. What a move.
Well, you know what I like there? There's the experienced guard. Right away he recognized the mismatch. Thompson coming out on him with a bad situation defensively. Instead of wasting any time, goes right on by him. Good recognition.
Thompson posting up Kane. Ginyard in traffic. Nice work by Marcus Ginyard.
Again, go back to lack of blocking out. Really starting to pile up now on Virginia.
7 of them now for North Carolina. Those 7 offensive rebounds are a difference maker. It's kept Carolina in it on an off shooting night here in the early going. Nikolauskas again, Kane with a quality entry pass.
Stevenson got caught on the hip. But Thompson is setting up down in there low.
Stevenson, Frazier, Rayshon Terry, Deion Thompson, and Ginyard on the floor for North Carolina. Timeout. 9 minutes gone. Virginia by 6. 24-18. Virginia leads by 6. Tim Brando along with Billy Packer. I was reading a column by A.J. Carr in the News and Observer today, and he said, you know what? The thing about this North Carolina team is they're deeper than an old well, and they've already played 10 guys in the first 9 minutes. And over time, that really can be problematic for any team.
It's going to be interesting to me to watch how Roy Williams progresses with his team. I realize they're #1 in the nation right now. He's had the advantage to play a team going beyond 10 deep. But in the NCAA tournament, when you get down to March, coaches have a tendency to bring that down to about 8 players. But what he has been able to do so far is to see what guys will do under certain circumstances. So when March comes, he really knows what guys to put in the right place. So it is interesting, but I think in a way, sometimes it keeps other teams in the game for a while.
Yeah.
Here's a zone by Virginia for the first time. 2-1-2.
And by the way, they were saying that for years here with Dean Smith. For years, not just local pundits, but national ones as well. Bobby Frazier from downtown. Off the front iron, Nikolauskas gets it into Singletary's hands, and there's a bump by Ginyard.
Smart play by Singletary. Had him on the hip. Just drew the foul.
Let's take a look at our Chick-fil-A nugget of the game. Coaches with #1s in the AP. How about that? They've had them. Smith, McGuire. By the way, this is the 50th anniversary of Frank McGuire's 57 national championship team. And for Roy Williams, his first one this week to get in that category with the other 4.
It will not be his last.
No, it won't.
He might not get to 60, but I guarantee he won't sit on one very long.
4th turnover committed by Virginia.
I wonder how many weeks he had Kansas in #1 in his career at Kansas. I guarantee it'd be
a lot.
Yeah, I bet you 20 weeks in there.
I'll get my crack staff to work on
somebody have to look at that, but I'd say 20 plus. Maybe even, I'd say maybe 50 plus.
Hansbrough off the back iron. Well, look at Singletary blow by. Counted on a foul. I mean, that was just outstanding. It's very rare that you can beat Carolina back in defensive transition.
Well, he has transition. as a one-man transition team because he's strong enough to finish at the end of that transition. But he come right in there against Frazier, used his body to shield it. Number one scorer in the ACC right here, and also the number one man from this position, the free throw line.
Well, Billy, very quietly, guys like Will Harris and Solomon Tatt, who just became available the last couple of games for Virginia, with a really bad groin pull. These are extra athletes that once they get a little playing time under their belt will really help this Virginia team down the stretch. As Wright is fouled inside.
There's Singletary coming down over the top on Wright's hand. If you're a guard and you're playing in a zone and you drop back on a big man that's got the ball, you try to come underneath the ball with your hands, not over the top. You have a good chance to knock it away, but when you come over the top like that, it's almost always going to be a foul.
Maryland and Miami tied at 12 in a game that others along our Lincoln Financial and Raycom Sports Network are able to see. Our 25th year of coverage. The Miami team took a real blow with the loss of Anthony King this
absolutely. Week. You know, they go from having two of the most explosive guards in the country and a guard-oriented team, thinking they're going to go inside a little bit this year, and now lose their big man. I'd say Miami's in some serious trouble, even though they're in the ball game tonight.
They get Duke on Sunday. The Blue Devils will not be in a good mood, having lost their last two games.
I think you're going to find Duke this year in a number of situations in not too good a mood. This is not a club that can score the ball, and they could have trouble in this league.
J.R. Reynolds over Miller in air ball. Kane, he's found some openings for some offensive rebounds. That time, he just couldn't come up with a handle.
Let's see how long Virginia stays in the zone, or if they start picking up man-to-man again. Looks like they're back to man-to-man. Kane on the big step out, leaves Wright wide open.
Miller will be considered a zone buster in his outside shot. He struggled with it some this year, however. Statistically, as Wright is fouled.
That's Singletary's second reach-in foul. Just what I was talking about, a coaching point. Come down from underneath, don't slap from the top.
Well, that's exactly what Dave Leto was talking to him about. Join the Mania, ACC fans. You could win up to $100,000 plus hundreds of other great prizes in our Alltel's My Circle Mania sweepstakes. Text HOOPS to 84353 or visit mycirclemania.com.
You know, we talked about Wright being such an efficient player. He's had 2 games this year. Once 9 for 10 from the floor against Tennessee. And he was 8 for 9 from the floor against Dayton. I mean, how much more efficient can you be? Just a great young player.
Let's see how Virginia handles losing Singletary for at least a period of 6 to 7 minutes.
Well, if you're North Carolina, this is a good time to press full court against Virginia. Make Reynolds do it all. And here they are, coming to traps, and it works.
Right away. That's a foul, and it takes that. Wave off the hoop. They're going to get Reynolds for having the jersey, an intentional foul, which has been a point of emphasis this year.
Boy, Roy Williams with a really good coaching move here. Singletary goes out of the ball game, immediately goes for the trap, and it works. Now you get 2 here and the ball out of bounds, so you gave up an easy 2 to make them earn it on the foul line and with another possession.
Talking about feeding the monsters, Billy, already we've seen some examples of that, and now Reynolds joins Singletary with 2 fouls. And that, of course, is the strength of this Virginia team, their backcourt. Feed and fan the big fellas, right, Billy? First and strong.
Well, down inside, so powerful, goes right up through Nikolauskas. Then he gets fouled again on the arm, and there's Wright, that smooth player that plays above the rim so often.
Now, J.R. Reynolds is not only going to have to be smart, he's also going to, we talked about decisions, he's going to have to make some real decisions on this end of the floor because they cannot allow a third foul to be called on him before the end of the half. Solomon Tatt comes away with the rebound.
Lawson back in the game and took that wrap off his wrist.
Diani.
Second nice-looking jump shot.
That's a deuce, 29-23. There was an 8-point lead for Virginia when Singletary got the second foul and had to leave the game. See how this tempo control is affected. and if North Carolina can make a dent into this Virginia lead.
Boy, Dave Leto saying to Kane, grab it with 2 hands. Why slap it out of there with 1? A wide open rebound. Let's see how Lawson operates with that wrist no longer wrapped.
Mikalauskis.
Yep. Mikalauskis did a nice job there using his body, and maybe Hansbrough started 1 step out too far before he made his drop step move.
A lot of times that contact will induce the travel, won't it? And I mean, he's one of those guys that I think really wants the contact before he goes up.
I would agree with that. Not too many guys are strong enough to go ahead and withstand that contact. Mikalauskis did a really nice job there.
Gets the high pick for Mikalauskis.
There's that long arm. Right matched up right now and sticking with Reynolds. Watch this.
There's shot clock down to 5. He'll take the tray. Oh, Diani on the offensive boards, and he's fouled. That's a big offensive rebound by Mamadi Diani. And the foul goes against Rayshon Terry. A cool, crisp evening in the Carolinas. It's warming up in Chapel Hill. Tim Brando and Billy Packer, happy to have you with us here on Raycom and Lincoln Financial Sports. Our coverage of ACC basketball continues. A 29-23 Virginia lead over the #1 Tar Heels. Tyler Hansbrough, who usually gets better with time in the 40 minutes of a basketball game, has had more of a struggle tonight with Mikalauskis, I think, than he bargained for. This broadcast is a copyrighted presentation. Any use of it without the express permission of Raycom and Lincoln Financial Sports in the ACC is prohibited. Coming up Saturday, a double dose of ACC basketball. We look forward to that.
I mentioned Diani's outstanding game against Arizona, also had that tremendous game against Gonzaga. Nice looking pure shooter. This is a key here. Can they start hitting some threes? They were 0 for 5 up to that point. You can't let Elliott get wide open.
The freshman from Wynwood, Pennsylvania. Look out, if he warms up, he can score in bunches. Solomon Tap feeds Kane on the wing. That shot's the one that needs to fall. Shots like that against North Carolina in this building, you've got to make. Hansbrough the duck under.
Boy, he really runs the floor. Gets himself in that low post position and loves traffic.
Just like that, they rise to their feet here in Chapel Hill.
Bad decision.
And again, without Singletary, an 8-point lead before he got the second foul. And now some turnovers and missed opportunities for Virginia. Lawson.
Timeout, Virginia.
And that is a good decision by Dave Leto. A 13-3 run, the first lead for North Carolina.
Good decisions here by the freshman players. And there's Lawson taking his jumper, had plenty of time to get it off. So Lawson and Ellington go from 0-5 from 3, hitting 2 in a row.
As the teams take the timeout on the floor and discuss strategy, you should too. Get someone to talk with you, not at you. Talk to Chuck, Charles Schwab. And with that in mind, you can see we're almost out of time on the clock. What would you think Dave Leto is saying to his guys right now about the decision making?
What he's saying to his guys, I'm going to put Singletary back in the game even though he picked up 2 cheap fouls because I can't let this game get away from me with 6:43 to go in the half. So Singletary, I'm sure, has gotten a talk or two to say no more cheap ones, but he's got to have him on the floor to help this ball handler.
Since Singletary left the game, this 13-3 run has allowed them to get the first lead, but right away he changes that, and it's 32-31.
Now he's on Lawson. If you're Lawson, try to penetrate and pick up that 3rd foul on him.
Alley-oop, and Wright could not bury it. A good pass, he simply could not bury it.
He was only about 11 feet reach on that particular play.
Speaking of that principle of verticality, as you see Singletary knock down yet another triple. He has 11 in the game. You've got an idea for maybe the future of another sport with regard to guys that can jump and jump very high. Lawson. Oh, what a play! Counted in a foul.
And you got to worry when he goes in traffic like that. You know, you got to come down. You use your hand to brace yourself with that rough wrist. Watch him come down here. See how his hands are trying to brace him? Boy, that can really get you in trouble when you got a bad wrist.
That's the second foul on Jason Kane. But you mentioned that, and Butch Davis might take this to heart, the new North Carolina football coach. Why not get a shot blocker for field goal tries?
Absolutely.
Just recruit him for that specialty position.
Right? You take him right off the basketball team.
Exactly.
Guys with the highest vertical reach, you just go up and block field goals.
Without Jarvis Moss, who had a pretty good vertical jump and as a former basketball player, Florida wouldn't have beaten South Carolina before they won the national title. Diani can't hit the three-pointer. Reynolds runs it down for Virginia.
It didn't hit the rim, so they get another 45.
And you see the three-point shooting story, keeping Virginia in it, and they launch another.
I'm surprised with that shot selection. You don't want North Carolina to get running like this. Get a better shot, use a little bit more clock. Virginia's done a nice job in the first half controlling this game. You don't want a running match.
Hansbrough has a much easier time of it, Billy, getting to the rack when Michailakis is not in the game.
He took a little bit of a blow right here, and I don't know if he hurt his wrist a little bit or got hit in the face. Watch him coming down the lane.
Yeah, Diani.
Oh, he got poked in the eye.
Yep. Mamadi Diani came over and got him in the eye.
He's going to have to, I think if he's got a contact, it maybe got moved a little bit. In this particular case, Roy Williams can use anybody he wants to shoot free throws.
Right. Tunje Saroye was trying to defend him, and he got by him very quickly. Michailakis has got, like a lot of European talents, plays position basketball very well and has not allowed Hansbrough the kind of room on the baseline that he's accustomed to having.
I would agree. You could bring in a Danny Green, who's a 91% free throw shooter now, to shoot these free throws.
Yeah. Well, Sean Singletary, Billy, has been, as advertised, short of the decisions to reach in and pick up fouls. He's been outstanding.
And remember, the two fouls that he did pick up, both were really touch fouls, not good decisions on his part. The young man can score and he can shoot.
4 of 6 from the floor, Billy, and 3 assists to lead the way for the Cavaliers, who at this stage, while shooting a quality percentage, have a 2-point lead with over 5 to play. Miami does have a lead, and yes, Duke did lose their second consecutive game. Virginia Tech got a victory, and that's a non-conference win for Seth Greenberg's team. And we're not in the business of rooting, but I mentioned this before. I really do think after everything Seth's team went through last year emotionally, many tragedies, multiple tragedies with players, it was encouraging, I'm sure, for them to get a quality road win like the one they got at Cameron Indoor Stadium.
Well, and a little advice to any coaches that come into the Atlantic Coast Conference: get thrown out of a ball game at Duke. It assures you a win a year or two later. Remember?
That's right.
Jerry Williams.
Yeah.
And then Seth Greenberg, and then they come back and get a win 2 years later.
In Seth's case, it was his first game at Cameron Indoor Stadium he got thrown out in. Brandon Wright comes away with the rebound at the Diani aerial. Tar Heels have only had one lead in this game, very briefly, just a moment ago. There's the dump down to Hansbrough. I'd say the vision is 2020 again. 9 for him. Singletary almost lost it. Finds an open Will Harris. Ellington clears it. Quentin Thomas on the floor. Secondary break, Hansbrough. And the rebound to Harris.
That's a shot Hansbrough has. That 15 to 18-foot jumper, he doesn't get a chance to shoot it off it, but I think he's got a lot of confidence in it. And Roy Williams lets him take it. You know, Virginia has had some pretty good looks. That 15-foot jump shot. Oh, there's one that came out of Reynolds' hands. And they just haven't gotten him to go down. It's kind of ignited North Carolina's fast break.
There's a pop out and a good pick by Soroye, but Reynolds can't hit the wing jumper. He's been much more effective up top than he has on the wing.
Some solid minutes by Thomas now in the backcourt. Remember, he was a starter 2 years ago in some games.
Right. Got it up on the iron. Scrum underneath the basket. Soroye has it surrounded. Well, it has been fast and furious. It will be North Carolina's ball on the alternating possession when we come back. Yes, 25 years of covering it, and tonight it has been up to the advanced billing. We're all tied. 35-35 with 3:17 remaining here in the opening half. A lot of history in this building, and those most recent banners for the players added to the rafters on December 31st against Dayton. Added to the other luminaries here atop the Dean Smith Center.
Three pretty good ones that led North Carolina to another national championship with that thrilling win over Illinois. All rightfully belong up there on that end of the list.
Not there for Green. Ball out of bounds. It belongs to Virginia. You know, Billy, it was interesting. I came in today for the shoot-around. I was talking with Dave Lato and the longtime SID, Rich Murray, and I couldn't believe it. It's hard to believe this building is 20 years old. 1986. You still get the feeling when you come in this building that it's brand spanking new. They've done a marvelous job here. Quentin Thomas with a 4-on-2. Leaves it for Green.
Good decision. Green had to be more positive about putting that shot up.
Off the ball, a push goes against Quentin Thomas.
Thomas playing some pretty solid minutes out here. Roy Williams looking for a little depth at that point guard position, particularly during his games in which Lawson is not at 100%.
He had a stress fracture to his foot. Both he and Bobby Fraser missed games. And, you know, if you miss 4 or 5 games due to any kind of injury on this team, you're going to be Wally pipped.
You know, how important were those 2 fouls that Singletary picked up that put him on the bench for a while? Changed the complexion of this game now that he's come back.
Absolutely.
Gotten Virginia settled down.
Thomas leaving it for Ginyard. Deion Thompson on the floor along with Green and Brandon Wright.
Well, Virginia not realizing if they're playing man-to-man or zone, really confused on the defensive end of the clock.
Quentin Thomas. Q gets his first bucket, and North Carolina has its second lead.
Harris missed his defensive assignment, really messed things up for Virginia.
Nikolauskas trying to set a pick for Singletary. A nice show by Quentin Thomas. Harris took that one in where you're going to get into trouble too deeply. Deani knocks that one away for Virginia.
That's what got Thomas in trouble in regard to playing time, trying to make plays that weren't there.
Singletary, that one was never online. He's upset with himself. That was a little quick. How about that? Velcro hands. Reynolds takes it to the rack.
And he knew that Green had the ability to go high up in the air, so he finished the play. Roy Williams very upset with the sloppy play of his team right here. But he's playing a lot of combinations, you know, and it's hard to get consistent performance with so many substitutions.
Well, this is a lineup when you think about it. Now, there are going to be 3 new players. Hansbrook's coming back in, as is Lawson and Rayshon Terry. You seldom see Ginyard miss the chipping. Stays with him. Thompson runs it down. Dave Lato is beside himself over there.
And Roy Williams on the other end of the floor jumping up and down.
Somebody get a rebound. Green. Reynolds still unable to claim a rebound, this Virginia team. Finally, a timeout taken by Roy Williams.
He had seen enough. He wants his team to come over there. Hey, guys, let's play some North Carolina basketball. He is hot.
Offensive rebounds for North Carolina. Let's take a look at Reynolds' play.
Well, you talk about turnovers and lack of decisions. There's Reynolds on the inside, hitting one of his patented jump shots. We talked about this is a really solid, experienced backcourt that Virginia puts on the floor. This young man can shoot from the outside. Now watch the steal he makes on this ill-advised pass. Goes right up and gets it. Realizes screens behind him. Takes no chances with a flush. 4 assists and only 1 turnover, which is very, very good. And I think, Tim, we talked about decisions by this backcourt. I would say tonight, from a standpoint of the passing that they've had and the decisions they've made in that area, it's been excellent. They had almost a 1.5 to 1 turnover ratio, but I do think they've taken some shots that are ill-advised, and they can't afford to do that because that allows North Carolina to get running. Back to man-to-man is Virginia. They played a little bit of zone tonight, but primarily man-to-man.
Shot clock is off. They'll hold it for 1. With Lawson and Hansbrough on the floor.
A wide move by Dave Leno to get Singletary on that bench.
Terry, nice look into the right. Oh, that was nice. Very nice final play. Roy Williams able to get the ball into the proper hands after all of those offensive rebounds. Kept the ball on that end of the floor.
How about that timeout by Roy Williams?
Yeah.
Very important.
10 in the game for Wright. North Carolina never led by more than 2, and that's their lead at halftime.
ACC basketball is being brought to you by Toyota, by Progress Energy, by Pontiac, by Chick-fil-A, by Gatorade, by Chevrolet, and by Ruby Tuesday. Ruby Tuesday presents the Play of the Week. Saturday against Georgia Tech, Clemson's James Mays drove the length of the floor for a layup with 2.2 seconds left to give the Tigers a 75-74 victory. The win pushed the Tigers' record to 16-0, and it's our Ruby Tuesday Play of the Week.
By the way, Clemson a winner obviously last night, and 17-0. What a story they've become. A good one here, 39-37. The number 1 Tar Heels, though with 1 defeat, have a 2-point cushion only against a Virginia team that really controlled things until Singletary picked up a quick second foul and had to leave the game. And at that point, North Carolina had a 13-3 run that really keyed this lead. Let's take a look at our Budweiser scoreboard. Duke goes down again. Georgia Tech, the winner, 74-63 at Alexander Memorial Gym. And I think this Maryland-Miami score is an even bigger surprise. Miami without Anthony King winning right now against Maryland at the Terps floor. Virginia Tech with a non-conference win over UNC Greensboro. Kansas really loading up on a good Oklahoma State team by 20. Tennessee and Vanderbilt late are tied at 76. And South Carolina losing to Georgia. That's a very impressive win for the Bulldogs against a good South Carolina team. Tyler Hansbrough has been fed, and that's the way you want to keep him, well fed throughout the night.
Today's Rejection of the Week is brought to you by Sonic.
Rejected!
In Durham on Saturday, Virginia Tech's Deron Washington blocks the Greg Paulus three-pointer at the end of the game to preserve the Hokies' 69-67 victory over the Blue Devils. That's our Sonic Rejection of the Week.
39-37, North Carolina with the lead here at halftime. Let's take a look at our Toyota conference standings. The season just underway, and surprise, surprise, there is Clemson, Oliver Purnell's team. The biggest story really in college basketball, the only unbeaten team in Division I. Boston College has been very consistent. North Carolina, of course, number 1, still looking to get a few more conference games under their belts. And here in the first half, it has been about decisions. J.R. Reynolds, 9 points, 4 Sunday best dishes, only 1 turnover in 18 minutes played. North Carolina leads it by 2 here at halftime. Tim Brando along with Billy Packer. And if you look at the way we thought this game would play out, Billy, a little bit of what both teams need to do to win they've accomplished, but not all of it. You know, they both need to get better at it.
Well, here you have the inside game by North Carolina. Now, they used a lot of different lineups this game. Hansbrough was, as we see him right there, so powerful. And then Wright, who plays above that rim with a gifted ability to reset ball the left hand. The guard play for Virginia, outstanding in regarded decision-making and passing. There's the great play by Reynolds on the steal and the put-down. I think they can take better shots. And Singletary has got to stay out of foul trouble early in the second half.
Taking a look at our Chevrolet halftime stats, look at the rebounding story for North Carolina. And that's going to be a difference in their favor against a lot of clubs, no doubt about that. But at the same time, those turnovers and those poor shots that lead to runouts, that's your point about Virginia.
Well, and North Carolina being held to 37% when they're leading the league at 51-5.
Good defense, good solid
very
defense,
good defense by Virginia.
4 ties, 3 lead changes. North Carolina has only led by as many as 2. And we'll be back with the second half.
ACC basketball is brought to you by RBC Centura, by your Carolina Chrysler dealers, by Sonic Drive-Ins, by Charles Schwab, and by Red Lobster.
When you think about the history we just showed you, we've got plenty of that going on here in Chapel Hill. It's the 50th anniversary of Frank McGuire's 57 team winning the NCAA title. The Heels had to get through 2 triple overtime games in the Final Four before beating Wilkes, Chamberlain, and Kansas in the finals. And this is the 25th anniversary of Dean Smith's first national title. And why not show the final seconds one more time? Michael Jordan, the jumper for the lead. And then Freddie Brown's decision and James Worthy's steal to seal the deal. And Billy Packer was playing back in the 50s and was calling games shortly after that, including that game in 1982 in New Orleans.
You know, I've often kidded James Worthy about, James, why were you out? Who were you guarding? You know, he really was in the wrong place at the right time.
Right.
But that is all history. Nice move by Kane. Got a starting assignment in tonight's game. Played pretty well.
A rare putback for Virginia. Carolina's been living on that for the most part. Hansbrough stayed with it, was able to muscle it up and in. 41-39.
Gianni will say, if I'm going to draw the charge, I better take him with me, because when he goes chest to chest, he puts a hurting on you. Good backdoor cut.
What a cut. What a cut that was by Reynolds. That's the kind that would make Roy Williams proud. He's had his guards doing that for quite some time. Tough pass that time. High-low, Hansbrough to right.
Probably not what you want, having Hansbrough, the guy making that direct feed. You know, I think they ought to get the ball. There's another backdoor cut. Bad hands.
Nikolauskas does recover it and puts it in.
You know, I think that if you're Virginia, I'd go ahead and get that ball in Reynolds' hands a lot and see if Ellington can stop him one-on-one. So far, he hasn't had any opportunity to take him often, and I think they can really take advantage of that matchup. He's out on the wing right now.
A one pass again, right to Nikolauskas. Count it, and a foul.
What Singletary is doing is he's just going right through and creating an offense. He's creating an offense all by himself, going right through North Carolina. Nobody picking him up. Good backdoor cut. Beautiful pass. And here again, he's creating an offense all by himself. Just going right through North Carolina. You notice nobody was ever squared up on him defensively on any of those plays.
Well, not only that, but he pulled up just in time, didn't get in too deep to Hansbrough to make sure he didn't pick up the player control foul. And then the wraparound pass off of that, 46-41.
Good point, Tim, on the pull-up, because some guards just go uncontrolled once they hit that foul line. Good decision on his part.
And that's what this game is about. Virginia and their guards, decisions. Deion Thompson has 4, 46-43.
There's no Singletary again saying you can't stop.
There it is. Nikolauskas forces the foul. I mean, now Singletary's going to feed and fan his big fella.
I'm going to go back in that first half when he picked up those 2 cheap fouls, and Dave Lato had to sit him on the bench. That really hurt Virginia.
Tyler Hansbrough got the foul, his first.
Another thing about it, Singletary can play 34 minutes in a ball game and still play full blast. You hate to have to sit him.
There's nothing like college basketball, and if you're celebrating to win, do it right. The way you celebrate says a lot about you and reflects on your school. So be responsible, take care of yourself and your friends. A message from Anheuser-Busch.
Nikolauskas only a 51% free throw shooter.
Jason Kane re-enters the game. Will Harris takes the seat, the freshman from Corona, New York. Played at Brewster Academy. Young man that's given some quality minutes to Dave Lato this year. Off the ball, Curtis Shaw with Hansbrough and Nikolauskas. Spot the foul on Arenas. Young Lithuanian.
Just trying to get Hansbrough from getting excellent low post position, using that body. Well, I don't know. He took a pretty good shot in the draw. I thought that should have been a foul, but he received.
Hansbrough working pick and roll. Thompson, and right into the passing lane is Kane to knock that one away.
You see Kane's play tonight with his experience in there and the ability last year of 7 double-doubles. It's a guy that really should be having a much better season.
I think he gets down on himself somewhat, Billy, and particularly if he's not getting it done on this end of the floor, it affects him offensively. And another quick foul spot underneath, and that's tough. That's Nikolauskas again.
No, I think this is just the second.
Okay, but he got him quickly.
Singletary raised his hand. I thought he picked up his third. Boy, if you're Singletary, you never want to lift your hand.
Doubleheader Saturday, North Carolina State and Wake, Virginia and Boston College. Bobby Fraser on the deck for North Carolina now at the point.
Royer now on Hansbrough.
Thompson checked by Kane. Again, well defended by Jason Kane. Out of bounds to Virginia.
A strange lineup on the floor considering time and score for North Carolina. Frazier didn't start, Thompson didn't start, Green didn't start in this ball game. They're all on the floor right now.
Meanwhile, Singletary, Reynolds, Kane go along with Tunje Soroye and Mamadi Diani for Virginia. Singletary a 3. Pulled down by Hansbrough. Fraser, quick outlet. Ellington runs it down. Thompson in traffic. 6 points for Deion Thompson.
And there goes Singletary creating his own offense again.
Taken away by Ellington. Fraser on the wing. Air ball. Soroye had it and lost it. He got tied up with Hansbrough. Looked for some help, but no whistle. And it was incidental contact. No need for one.
Crowd standing on their feet, trying to exhort number 1 past a very tough opponent tonight.
Reynolds almost lost it. Fraser fighting through that pick. And a timeout taken by Dave Lato. He's upset with his team. Did not like that sequence at all and got into the ear of his veteran guards. We'll be right back.
Well, Deion Thompson takes the ball aggressively to the basket. We're looking at a guy that's averaging about 4 points a game, 11 minutes a game. You'd think the way that he went after it was in the game plan to say, go ahead, he's got 8 in this ball game, has been extremely aggressive in the low post. Nice, we talked about the right Hansbrough matchup. Here's another guy coming in and being very productive.
Part of those interchangeable points. Deion Thompson, former football player. At one point, he weighed over 300 pounds, dropped 50 after deciding to go exclusively to basketball in Torrance, California.
I still think Virginia's missing the boat, not getting the ball to Reynolds.
Kane, that's shot clock violation. And that's unacceptable out of a timeout. David Lato cannot believe it. Oh, those decisions make you think about making another one. We mentioned Virginia coming in here off a loss. They were holding a 1-point lead in the final seconds against Stanford on Sunday. The Cardinal had the ball and a chance for the win. They allowed Lawrence Hill to get this close to the cup. He became the man of the hour, hitting the floater with 9/10 of a second to get the win. J.R. Reynolds was at the free throw line just prior to that, missed one of the two, which allowed the game winner to go Stanford's way. Ellington off the feed from Frazier. And Diani finally collects the rebound for Virginia. We're tied at 47. Tim Rando, Billy Packer, happy to have you with us here in Chapel Hill.
Again, Ellington Reynolds is the matchup that Virginia ought to try to take advantage of.
Kane, boy, nice work that time.
Absolutely, he's an experienced player.
That in-between game, I mean, it's a rare commodity. We don't see as much of it anymore. And there's another example as Green pulls up in between range to knock down shots. The more of those that fall, the better off your team.
Beautiful crossover dribble by Green that time to get open. And a nice steal.
Oh, yeah. Green with the outlet to Thompson. Nice look back to Green, and he's fouled. Kane got him with the body.
Thompson not used to playing this many consecutive minutes. Looks like he's very winded out there right now.
The Carolina Chrysler and Jeep dealers are giving away 2 grand prizes that include ACC tournament tickets, accommodations, and new vehicles to drive to the tournament in Tampa. Visit theacc.com for more details. Presented by Chrysler and Jeep, the official vehicles of the ACC.
You know, Tim, this is one of the games, if you're doing the game, and if you're not paying attention to the scoreboard, you kind of get the feeling that North Carolina has a nice working margin lead. And all of a sudden you look up there, it's 50-49. And I think a lot of it has been because of this constant rotation. North Carolina has never gotten settled in their half-court set. Again, part of, I think, Roy Williams' strategy to take this team as far as he can, using all the parts of the puzzle, till he gets himself a little bit into the middle of February, settling down as to just who's going to play and when.
Yeah, look, ranking means a lot to the people that follow the game, to the media, to a lot of the fans across the country. It generates interest. But Roy, like a lot of other elite coaches in the country, they see this as building blocks for what matters most on the road to the Final Four. Well, and there's a nice move stepping into the lane by Wright. Unable to convert the follow. Yes, and it counts.
He just floats along with that 6'10" or 11, but really plays about 7'1" with those long arms. Watch this steal with his left hand extended so he doesn't commit the foul. Now there's this floating ability that he has. Comes right back in. A lot of people talked about how thin he was, but when you look at his legs, he has a great set of legs, and then he plays so long and so extended, he just plays over the top of people.
I'm going to throw out a name. You look at the offensive rebounds, that's a blowout for the Tar Heels. He's a more accomplished Tayshaun Prince. Tayshaun's early days, okay? Absolutely. He brings a lot of the same, I think, attributes offensively and defensively because of his length, but he's a lot more capable on the offensive end of the floor than Tayshaun was.
Well, Tayshaun had the ability maybe to go out farther with his shot, but I think that's a pretty good parallel in regard to that length that both of them possess.
Reynolds working on Frazier, gives it up to his running mate Singletary.
Well, I like this defensive matchup here. Frazier, much tougher for Reynolds, and now you've got Ginyard, one of the best defenders on Singletary.
Jamil Tucker takes it on the right. That was a mistake.
Terrific defensive play on the floor by North Carolina. Now they've got some real good matchups out there.
And some outstanding options from deep. And a pretty good option inside with Wright. They're doing with the hands throw out of the game. They're attacking the glass. And we'll get to the free throw line. Foul goes against Mamadi Diani.
Watch this defense. There are two fellas that could have been credited with a block, but what you had is great matchups in the backcourt with Frazier and Ginyard on Reynolds and Singletary, just cutting them off.
Hansbrough out of the game, Billy, and yet you begin to think this is a critical moment for Virginia. And this building is ready to burst. And North Carolina's defensive intensity has really picked up.
I think it's a good time to go zone against North Carolina because they don't have any outside shooters.
Right at it, deflected. And the foul is Frazier and Singletary both go for the loose ball. Bobby Frazier will be tagged with the foul. His second. I think that was a big sequence. If North Carolina had gotten up 6 or 7, this building really begins to take off. And with Hansbrough out, I think automatically people think this is gravy when you get a lead built with number 50 on the bench. He's about to come back in.
Yeah, and he's coming back in with Thompson, but Singletary's done a nice job when he's in there.
Another steal. Thomas, what a move. 3-on-2 to right.
Great rebound by King.
Good defensive sequence for Virginia. They got back, did not give up on that play.
Now, fans, watch this Ginyard play. He can play any perimeter position defensively. Watch him on Singletary. This is a real key matchup for North Carolina.
You like the size differential, don't you?
Yeah, and what Singletary did to North Carolina prior to this is just take over the game and does it again with a jumper.
He rattled it home.
Oh, that picked up a challenge. Terrific job by All-ACC first teamer last year that didn't mind that challenge.
53-52, that was a big bucket. Wright stripped on the way up, stays with it. This time he's fouled. A little go against Mikalauskas.
Singletary realizes being guarded by a real good defender. Good screen. Ginyard got caught going underneath. And that gave Singletary just enough room for that jump shot. Nice movement without the ball by the guard.
He actually got 2 screens, a quick one from Kane, and then Mikalauskas as he ran that curl. And you're right, got just enough room to get the shot off.
And that's a nice heady move by Singletary. You know, he realizes Ginyard's going to give him trouble off the dribble, so he moves without the ball and gets off the nice jump shot.
Brandon Wright, Brentwood Academy, led his high school team to 4 straight championships. Tunjay Soroye has come back onto the floor replacing Mikalauskas.
North Carolina going to the line this year 175 more times than their opponents, and they're shooting 70% from the line, which is really solid.
Wright still needs to work somewhat in this phase of his game, a 60% free throw shooter.
Of the guys that play most at 62%, he's the guy with the poorest free throw shooter.
4 of 9 tonight at the line for Brandon Wright. 53-52. 12-20 and counting from the Dean Smith Center in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. There's that matchup you like so much. Singletary.
There's time lost. He can stay in front of him.
Thomas. One bad decision leads to an easy one the other way.
I'll tell you, Singletary has to recognize that Ginyard is one fine defender. Give up the ball, get the screens like he did on the jump shot. You know, Thomas having some pretty good solid minutes
Yes,
here.
he is. As he did the other night against Florida State. Timeout on the floor, and as the teams discuss strategy, you should too. Get someone to talk with you, not at you. Talk to Chuck, Charles Schwab. That's what we're talking about. And Billy, I want you to help me out with regard to Virginia's thought process now. Dave Lato depending so much on these guards, but there is pressure to make plays each time down for both Reynolds and Singletary. You're going to have a few faux pas along the way.
I understand that, but if you are Virginia right now, Ginyard is the stopper defender. He's on Singletary, so you don't want Singletary to be the guy to try to go ahead and generate all this offense off the dribble. Let him make a pass, move without the ball, get it back to the jump shot. Here's the clear out for him up high.
So many players off that Carolina bench are so effective. Reynolds past Thomas this time. Hansbrough taps it into the hands of Green.
Very important possession for North Carolina now to get a good shot. Get a chance to open up a margin here. I think this is a team to play zone against.
Thompson, not there. Pulled down by Reynolds. Lost it. Just a mishandle by Reynolds as he tried to get down there quickly to beat the North Carolina defensive transition.
You really don't have a perimeter shooter on the floor right now. Green may be the best of the bunch.
Hansbrough over Soroye, well defended. Ginyard again. Oh, Billy, you saw this one coming. Defensively and now on the offensive end, his energy has been the difference in the last 5 minutes.
You see what he did right away? He attacked Singletary's dribble, making him get the ball out of his hands.
We said it earlier, we'll say it again. This may be a critical sequence.
There he is again.
Reynolds on the wing. Boy, they needed that one to fall. Look out. Green retrieves it. Thomas on the move. That's a block. And that's number 3 on Reynolds. Still 10:33 remaining. 25 years of ACC coverage on Raycom and Lincoln Financial Sports. Exciting moments like these are yet to come. You know, Billy, in the second half, it's been guys like Deon Thompson, Quentin Thomas, and certainly Marcus Ginyard that have been the difference for North Carolina, as opposed to Hansbrough and Wright, who led them in the first half.
Well, we all know that if you're number 1 in the nation, you've got a lot of weapons, and that is what North Carolina throws at you. Virginia did a terrific job, 8 assists, only 6 turnovers in the first half, but now they were at 12 assists, 13 turnovers. Bench points, North Carolina 20-3. That's not surprising because, you know, they really are bringing some talent off this floor, onto this floor.
When you look at Virginia, the guards, and they're going to lean on Reynolds and Singletary, 25 points for almost half of their allotment, and they really need even more than that from them. The production needs to be probably at a 60% clip from the Virginia backcourt if they're to win this game. And they trail by 6. It's the largest lead of the game for North Carolina tonight. And another turnover. Pump up the volume. Thomas Hansbrough. Thank you.
And can you think that some of these players, particularly the likes of Kane, Singletary, are wearing down a little bit with his fresh players that have been on them this entire ballgame?
Yeah, that's almost a given at some point.
Well, how would you like to be Sidney Lowe thinking about what it's going to be like having to face this type of depth?
Singletary off the bounce.
Good defense again by Ginyard, who's got that side.
Dave Lato's going to go to his bench, sensing perhaps some fatigue from one of his guards. Reynolds has to get back in. He's got 3 fouls.
Again, I really think to save a little energy, a zone defense would be effective for Virginia because there aren't any perimeter shooters on the floor. There's Green, probably the best of the bunch, but North Carolina has maybe the only one that you'd have to worry about in a zone.
He has 7. The lead, double digits for the very first time.
Ooh, Hansbrough almost stole that ball.
From way downtown, Joseph, no. And a rare second opportunity for Virginia. Kane trying to work pick and roll. Gianni, he rattles it home from 3-point range.
He's a nice looking jump shot.
Yeah, he hasn't lost his intensity. He's a very strong complement to this Virginia team, Mamadi Diani. Just a sophomore from DeMatha Catholic. Potomac, Maryland. 63-55. Green, a floater. Joseph clears. Singletary spots Diani on the wing. Not this time.
I would have thought that he'd make that one. Good decision by Singletary to get him the ball.
Maintaining contact at the 8-minute mark, crucial for Virginia. Nice move. Ginyard fails to convert it. It was a wonderful move. He did everything but score.
Ginyard won't let Singletary have the ball. He is a hawker.
Well, he reminds me somewhat of Jackie Manuel in that first year that Roy Williams had. He was the first of the veteran players to buy in to defense. And that's what Ginyard's providing now. As Diani knocks down a triple, he has 14. Hansbrough in traffic, and he's fouled. And a good one to give up by Soroye.
There's Hansbrough again, gubbing down the court right to the box. Well, we talked about some of this bench play. There's Thompson rolling onto the inside, extremely aggressive. Reed on the floater. And then a young man, Quentin Thomas, coming in there, doing the job. Hansbrough, another rebound, this one by Ginyard. Terrific bench production. Green with the outside jump shot. Going back to Quentin Thomas, remember he started that first game in North Carolina's run to the national championship. They lost that game. Remember that? What a shocking loss to St. Mary's. Felton was out for that ball game. Then you think back at some of his situations, 7 turnovers in 9 minutes against Virginia Tech. He has had some really down moments, but I'll tell you, he is playing very solidly in this ball game.
I was talking to Dave
Great credit to him, you know?
Yeah, I was talking to Dave Lato, the Virginia coach today, and he says, the thing about this North Carolina team, and they almost remind you of some of those scary teams in the 80s. Look at how many players that were had key roles a season ago that are now in support roles now. He mentioned Wes Miller. He mentioned Danny Green, who was the top reserve last year. And then you think of Ginyard, and you certainly think of, without question, the play of Quentin Thomas, who was a guy that was a backup point guard on the national championship team. His minutes are well down. It really does show you how deep in every area North Carolina is. Shot clock at 5. Joseph the walk.
Really good, solid man-to-man defense that time. Lawson did a good job. And here's Lawson. You know, we talk about a guy who is one of the top performers in the backcourt, despite the fact he's just a freshman. We've hardly called his name.
That's right.
I mean, here's North Carolina leading a solid performance and not even getting anything out of Lawson at all.
Those turnovers are really adding up for Virginia now. They've doubled up North Carolina in that area. Ellington, who had been just lights out shooting the ball, has been quiet both tonight as well as against Florida State. But it hasn't mattered that much because North Carolina has so many interchangeable parts. Singletary will come back onto the floor as Deani picks up that foul. His third. Jason Kane will also come in after this free throw.
We've talked about this weekend's games for the ACC. There's one coming up. It's going to be kind of interesting. We talk about a deep team that plays physical basketball, really comes after you, and there'll be a crowd that will be maybe like no other that's been in South Carolina basketball history when Clemson takes on North Carolina next week. That will be something.
And by the way, there would have been few out there had Clemson been coming to Chapel Hill as opposed to the reverse. They would have been saying, I think we can predict for you the first L on that schedule. But the truth of the matter is that you were there back when Dale Davis and those guys were playing against J.R. Reed. It'll be just like that and maybe even bigger because they're the unbeaten team.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, you're talking about James Mays down there is now 28-0 in the last 2 years. There hasn't been a run like that since that Duke squad in 99 had 32 straight wins.
The other thing, too, Billy, Clemson's got 3 guards. You know, we talk about 2 outstanding guards and guard combos. Virginia Tech's got 2. Virginia's got, you got 3 at Clemson. Over 6 minutes to play and a 7-point cushion for North Carolina.
Nice skip pass. You see Lawson not ready to shoot that jump shot.
Right over Kane. Every tip out, North Carolina gets, it seems. Hansbrough, right to follow. Doesn't convert. Singletary comes out of there with it.
That's 2 kind of easy misses for Wright.
Singletary, they're going to wave it off. They're going to say he was fouled prior to the shot.
Yep, he got banged about at the 16-foot mark right outside the foul line before he got that shot off.
Heck of a finish that doesn't count. Good call by Mike Kitts. This has been a well-officiated game tonight. Curtis Shaw, Earl Walton, and Mike Kitts officiating tonight's game. Fast and furious. Reynolds. Check by Ellington.
He ought to take Ellington off the dribble, or try to.
Deani is up to 14 points now. He's been the 3rd wheel offensively for Virginia. Kane trying to do the same against Wright. Induces the foul against Brandon.
Well, Wright that time had what North Carolina's been teaching for many years. He had the baseline as his teammate, and he didn't take advantage of that. Created the contact. There was no place for Kane to go, but Wright held his ground.
Wes Miller and Deon Thompson check into the game as Hansbrough takes a seat, as does Ginyard.
Miller into the ball game now. Pretty good defender against the dribble.
And Michaelauskas just lost the handle on a potential offensive rebound.
See again, Lawson not looking for his jumper.
And he gets a foul from Singletary. That's his third with 5:09 remaining.
Well, Lawson right now on the year is number 2 in the ACC in assist turnover ratio.
Think about this. In 10 starts, 64 assists, 14 turnovers. That's off the charts.
And, you know, I go back to a game early on in the season when they played Winthrop. He had 5 turnovers and no assists in the first half of that ball game. Much different player now.
Indeed. Bad wrist and all. He gets that one to fall. Look at that defensive work. And then a foul by Singletary. That's a double whammy. The hustle by Lawson, and then the 4th foul for Singletary.
I fought Kane on that one a little bit because he should have let Singletary realize that a man was right behind him.
All right, Lawson at the line, 2 shots.
Solomon Tat will be coming in, freshman from Nigeria. And he'll take Singletary's place for the moment. Defensive for offensive substitution. He won't be on the bench for long. So Michaelauskas along with Kane, Reynolds, Biani, and Tat now for Virginia. And the lead up to 10. Quentin Thomas checks in for Lawson.
So you have, in regard to point guards, you have Quentin Thomas has been out there, Frazier's been out there, Miller's been out there, Lawson's been out there. 4 deep, the point guard position in North Carolina tonight. And Miller, although he's really been struggling with his shot, is normally a very good defender against the dribble. But he's lost a lot of confidence compared to what he had last year on that jump shot.
Wes Miller picks up that foul. Reynolds taking him right down the lane, picking up that foul. 1-and-1 time as Reynolds gets to the free throw line.
Reynolds, 2 huge games this year, 25 against Utah, 26 against American. He's capable. He had a 30-point game against Maryland last year. He's capable of some big numbers.
I thought his play against Gonzaga was big. Wave it off. Roy Williams in disbelief.
Jason Terry thought he was fouled, doesn't realize he committed the charge. Roy Williams thought he had the angle.
Roy is a little upset. He's going to get rid of the jacket.
Well, he doesn't need a technical foul here. He's just going to go down there and a little change of wardrobe. Now, Roy Williams had a great angle on this play. You know what? I have to agree with him. Kane never established a defensive position.
Lead is 11. 4:30 and counting. That's a walk. We'll go the other way. How you're able to hold up against this constant pressure and these fresh legs that come at you in Chapel Hill. That's the quest.
See, Virginia goes to the zone now, something I thought they could have used effectively before, keeping Singletary out of foul trouble and forcing North Carolina to take some jump shots.
Miller, nice bounce pass to Wright. Beautiful pass from Miller to Wright.
He had missed 2 right at point-blank range, and he made sure that one was flush.
Biani up top. Thomas, the dump down to Brandon Wright. Out to Miller, look out for 3. Wright trying to keep it alive, does to Terry. And he was on the end line.
Steve Miller bending over and cannot believe he can't bury some of those jump shots.
3:36 remaining in the lead of Baker's dozen. Let's take a look, Billy, at our Jeep game summary. Offensive rebounding, all with North Carolina. You expect the bench points. Those turnovers in the second half have been problematic.
Well, they really have. Maybe a little stamina problem for Virginia. You know, something I saw on that timeout that I think was really great about teammates. Wes Miller's having problems shooting. He missed that. He had his head down, very dejected. Two of his teammates, including Ginyard and Thompson, came out and put their arms around his shoulder to lift him up and spare us up. A terrific job by teammates pulling for each other.
Look at that drought for Virginia. Better than 4 minutes and counting. Just at the wrong time. And this is the largest lead of the night for North Carolina. And it's really not been as explosive a run as it normally would be. Largely because Virginia has been unable to convert.
But another evening where Roy Williams can watch every piece of his puzzle and see how they'll react in the conference game.
Right. Wright is fouled. He goes for the offensive putback.
And another thing about that, you know, every kid on that bench has a feeling that he could be utilized, and therefore he's ready to come in and play and be productive.
And again, I go back to that first year, Billy. Jack Emanuel had to be a veteran player that bought in defensively. He did, and slowly you saw the rest of those veteran players come around. Now, Roy Williams with essentially his own team that he's responsible for. It's much younger. You get a sense that early in this season, he's got the attention of his players even sooner than he did that national championship team in his first year.
Yeah, well, I don't really think Roy Williams has had a problem for any year getting his players' attention. I mean, he's one of the great coaches in the business.
No question.
You know, another thing you pointed out, how insignificant being number one is at any point. I think we could ask Ohio State's football team the other night. You know, coaches really, you know, there's pride, obviously, at any point in the season to be considered the best team, but they all know, particularly in basketball, where there's going to be an eventual champion that wins it on the court, not many newspaper columns.
And you'll never have to worry about a 51-day layoff before you play for the national title in college basketball. Reynolds off the curl. And by the way, 36 days for Florida was too many, too. We talk a lot about both of those teams, what they had to go through. White trying to find Hansbrough. And those two are on the floor at the same time. That's an imposing high-low possibility.
But what I like there was Wright's decision not to take it into traffic. There, you know, Terry actually looked like he got hit on his funny bone there, and his hand kind of went dead on him. Official on an injury, giving him an opportunity to come out of the ball game. But you know, I tell you something. If you're Terry, you play through an injury while you're getting playing time. You don't want to be taken out for that. You just, you know, you don't even want to show that you're hurting because you want to play some minutes.
And really, when you think about it, if you can average, I don't know, maybe even if you're a great player, you can average 23 or more minutes on this team, that matters. Someone else just as good they can go to. Ellington unable to get it to go. Nice work by Joseph on the defensive glass. Kane running baseline. Good work by Jason Kane. He's had a solid night.
Yes, he has. I said before, he had the good game against North Carolina last year and a win by Virginia. Probably the reason he got that starting assignment tonight, and he's played well.
72-60. 8 points and 8 boards for Kane. And I think that's what Dave Lato would like to see out of him. You know, 12-point, 8-rebound kind of guy.
Absolutely. I said he had 9 double-figure rebound games last year, and I had said before 7 double-doubles, but it was 6 double-doubles. Pretty solid performance.
Joseph hits that tray, and it's a 3-possession game with 1:28 remaining. So we're not done yet.
ACC basketball has been brought to you by Bud Light, by your Carolina Jeep dealers, by Alltel, by Food Lion, by Pepsi, and by Geico.
72-63, #1 North Carolina with the lead over Virginia. Tim Brando, Billy Packer, happy to have you with us. And these youngsters, Brandon Wright, Ty Lawson, Deion Thompson's had his moments tonight, have had a tremendous impact on this game, but it's been hard fought. Any team with quality guards has a chance to hang around, but at some point, you've got to be able to handle the onslaught of North Carolina's depth. There's a foul given up by Diani.
You know, Tim, both of these teams, we talk about a common opponent in Gonzaga.
Yeah.
Virginia winning, North Carolina losing, their only loss of the year. Virginia with that win, the Pac-10 win over Arizona. North Carolina will be going to play out at Arizona. And, of course, the Pac-10, which is really playing well right now, a Stanford win over Virginia.
Right.
It will be interesting to see how the ACC matches up when they go west to play a very difficult place to win a ball game in Tucson against Ruth Olson's club.
Well, a lot of teams out there. Washington's had their moments. USC had a
big weekend,
a very big weekend. I tell you, the Atlantic Coast Conference has got some very strong teams at the top, no doubt about it. But the level of play out west is something to keep an eye on, particularly the way they like to play. Come tournament time, these intersectional games played early, Billy, by all the different conferences, I think will serve them well down the road, regardless of what happens. Gonzagas of the world help prepare you for the NCAA tournament, and both of these teams have played them. Well, Red Lobster presents the nothing but net shot of the game. Virginia was making a move, and then Danny Green made a tray, and 11 point of the night in a 13-3 run. And the bench was the difference in this game. Danny Green, the top reserve of a year ago, having a wonderful night tonight.
Well, there's an example of what Roy Williams probably is looking for. You know, you can't get inside his head, but you get an NCAA tournament run, and all of a sudden you're having a rough game, and here comes a Green off the bench to have a 14-point game that you're not anticipating. Here comes an NCAA tournament game. Here comes a Ginyard off the bench to shut down somebody that's seeming to have an unbelievable game.
That's right.
Those are the kind of things that he's looking at right now as his team progresses on this season. Where can I use certain places and certain players in certain spots?
Green with 7 points, all in the second half. 73-63. Lawson picks up the foul, which is not something you want to see if you're Roy Williams. Stop the clock and allow Virginia to get to the line and score. Our Pepsi players of the game: J.R. Reynolds, 11.6 assists. Brandon Wright, 16 and 9 for North Carolina.
That's 16 points, and he missed 2 easy ones inside. That'd been as quiet a 20-point game as you might ever want to see.
Marcus Ginyard would check out. Ellington comes back in. Green replaces Wright. We've got an update from College Park. Miami still leading Maryland. That would be a shocker.
A shocker beyond shocker. You know, and for Maryland, you know, they've not made the NCAA tournament here of late.
Yep.
And a kind of game that can really hurt you come Selection Sunday time. I realize that seems like years away from now, but you know, when you take an RPI of a Miami beating you.
Yeah, the committee will throw out bad loss.
Oh, absolutely.
A lot.
Absolutely.
And a home loss to a team within your league that everyone knows is struggling.
I wouldn't want to be the laundry for Gary Williams' suit and shirt if they lose that game.
73-65, just over a minute left. Terry is fouled. Gianni picks it up. That's his 4th. Singletary looking to come back in. As is Jason Kane. I think Dave Lato wanted that foul a little earlier, and that is his 5th foul.
Yeah, he didn't want that foul on Gianni. You know, you're talking about the guy you want to hit the 3-point shots, not the guy to commit the cheap foul.
And he's looking at Joseph now as if to say, why didn't you pick up that foul? 14 points for Mamadi Diani. This is a young man that, coming into tonight's game, had hit a perfect 50%. Now, that sounds imperfect, but it's right at 50%. 104 shots launched, 52 connected. He's the 3rd wheel, Billy. If they're going to win some games, work their way into the upper division, I think he's going to have to develop.
Yeah, and I think he has developed very nicely, but you're talking about two players that can have the 25-point games in Reynolds and Singletary. You've got Deani who can have, the 16 or 18-point game, and then that big inside front of theirs has got to really shut down the likes of a North Carolina inside defensively.
And look at those runs for North Carolina in the championship years and the way they started. Billy, does this team evoke some memories of some of those Carolina teams that were dominant in the way that they've started and that made it all the way to the Final Four? I think they do. They remind me quite a bit of some of those teams. They were dominant early, but yet were still developing.
Well, the 1982 team was a club with no depth. Basically played 5 players, and Dean Smith was brilliant in how he utilized those teams with timeouts and making sure that they controlled the tempo of the game. So I wouldn't relate that team in any way, shape, or form to this club. And extremely athletic. I mean, the second team players of the 1982 national championship team going against the second team of this team would have been in serious trouble.
I do.
So there are a lot of different ways to win a national championship.
Absolutely.
I didn't say the first team.
Right. Yeah, that.
I don't want Michael Jordan and the likes and James Worthy coming down and saying, guys, we're ready to suit up tomorrow. If there was the perfect formula as to how you put together a team to win a national championship, it'd been done, by a lot of coaches a lot of times. That's what makes, I think, college basketball so interesting. Each year, particularly now in this new era of college basketball, it's a new chapter, a new book every year that may have no relationship to anything that's ever happened before.
Well, the one thing that's been a constant for North Carolina, whether they played 5 guys primarily, or they went deep, which I think has been in recent years, certainly in the runs that Dean Smith made in the 90s, and Billy Guthridge's team that made it to the Final Four, and certainly Roy Williams is using a lot of personnel. But they've always forced the opposition to adjust to their style of play. You go to a shoot-around, you hear coaches say, I heard Dave Lato today talking to his team, they've been running this for 1,000 years here, okay? This is what they do. They've always done it, and they've done it to perfection. And when you force teams to always adjust to your style, more oftentimes than not, it's to your advantage.
Yeah, I would agree. One of the things, Tim, when you're thinking back of the teams, the 94 team that, added the great freshmen to go with the nucleus that came back from the national championship.
That's right.
That reminds me a lot of this ball club.
Singletary in traffic, a little out of control that time, and he came down on his back. He and Rashawn Terry are down. And on the other end, a foul against Jameel Tucker.
Dave Lato wondering, why is my man on the floor and no foul is called?
Well, he's going to look at the box score at the end of the night and see a lot more free throws for North Carolina.
So my question to you is the same as Dave Lato. Why no foul? This man actually gets hammered here. And no fouls called. I mean, it's not a charge, it's not a block, it's just like the ball fell out of his hand. Without question, Singletary was fouled.
And throw on the line.
And he's already had some injury problems. As Singletary. Hansbrough at the free throw line.
Well, take a look at the foul stats. Virginia 8 for 11, North Carolina 23 of 37. Now, some of that is the fact that they go inside so often, and they're tough to defend down there, but that's quite a difference in fouls.
Miller checks back in for Lawson.
The other thing is, Tim, you have fresh players on the floor all the time. A guy has a tendency to pick up a cheap foul when he's a little tired and reaches instead of moving his feet.
Hansbrough with those hands of his.
There's another foul.
Able to come up with one quickness to the ball.
If you're Virginia players, though, taking a look at this game, you have to say, wait a second. We didn't play a great game, and we hung in there for a long period of time.
Michalauskas is going to come in for Jason Kane, who picked up his 5th foul in there in the scrum. And again, a solid night for him in defeat. 21 offensive rebounds now for North Carolina. If you think about it, they did have the one run in the first half. It was a 13-3 spurt, which got them their first lead. After that, it was more a case of their defense, some foul difficulty for Virginia, particularly the Singletary and Reynolds, that impacted North Carolina getting a lead and holding on for much of the second half. But not able to completely run away from Virginia at any point.
We saw this game start off with some really poor blocking out by both teams and enabled North Carolina to get on that offensive glass. That's the one thing that kept them in the game.
Yeah,
really,
absolutely.
Nothing else was working for them.
Well, at one point, Virginia was shooting 57%, Billy, from the floor. Solomon Tack gets a field goal. It's a 10-point game. And Carolina was shooting 35%, and yet they were only down by 2.
Goldwater wants no more fouls. Let this game run out.
They rise to their feet here at Chapel Hill. Number 1 and moving on. North Carolina with the victory over the Virginia Cavaliers. 79-69 Tar Heels. For Billy Packer, Tim Brando, and our entire crew, saying so long. Don't forget our next game's a doubleheader. North Carolina State against Wake, Virginia, and Boston College. You've been watching exclusive coverage of ACC basketball on the Raycom and Lincoln Financial Sports Network. Again from Chapel Hill for our entire crew, Tim Brando saying so long. We'll see you next week for more ACC hoops.